Dear Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to be here in Dubai and represent the OECD today. Under the guidance of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, this summit really has become a major global platform to discuss how governments can evolve to become more agile and citizen-centered and face the challenges of tomorrow. I would like to thank our UAE hosts for having us here at the World Government Summit. The OECD has been a strategic partner for the UAE in the framework of the summit. Since 2013, we have helped to define the characteristics of the governments of tomorrow, building on the role of the OECD as a hub for global governance, but also on our growing relations with the UAE and the Arab world through our MENA OECD initiative. It might seem paradoxical in the face of today's pressing challenges to focus on the future. However, it is precisely because of the scale and diversity of current challenges that we must reflect on the future outcomes of today's policy decisions. Now is the time to think ahead. Now is the time to anticipate. And now is the time to take action against the backdrop of slow growth, rock-bottom trust, high unemployment, and rising inequalities, in addition to a deteriorating security situation in the region, with millions forced to flee their homes. At the OECD, we find that the future of successful governments lies in the principles of transparency, accountability, and participation. And these are clearly not new principles, but if there is one thing we have learned from 2016, it is that they are more relevant than ever to help restore trust. Indeed, open government is essential to better engage the public. To achieve these ambitious goals, executives need to reach out to other branches of power, namely the parliament and judiciary. And by doing so, they will move from an open government to an integrated open state approach, better placed to promote good governance and inclusive growth. Another key characteristic of successful governments is their ability to respond to growing complexities and anticipate potential challenges. Governments must innovate continuously, and that is why our Observatory of Public Sector Innovation partnered with the UAE to conduct a global review of leading-edge trends in government innovation, as covered in the report which was just launched 1 hour ago, namely this, Embracing Innovation in Government. We are going beyond analyzing trends. We identified key contributing factors and recommendations that help catalyze innovation. We also feature case studies of how countries are adapting to the future. Mexico City provides, for example, a great example of an innovative crowdsourcing experiment called Mapathon. With one of the largest public bus systems in the world and 14 million rides per day, it had no data on routes, leaving residents to rely on word of mouth. City leaders thus designed a travel game that relayed critical GPS coordinates, and in 2 weeks, for $15,000, over 4,000 riders generated enough data to map the bus system. This is innovation, and governments are embracing it to transform the way they work. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, when we look at inclusiveness for all, 2 segments of the population are key: namely youth and women. They demanded their space during the uprisings, and we can see that in the countries like Tunisia, great progress has been made for women's rights. Here, in the MENA region, where youth has formed the largest cohort for 50 years, we are seeing an alarming scale of youth unemployment, the highest in the world. And young people who express lower levels of trust in government than their parents. Yet, Arab youth are more educated and connected than ever, and they represent one of the biggest assets of the region. The Arab Youth Forum organized during this summit is a clear sign of this richness. The MENA OECD Ministerial Conference last year called upon governments to raise their engagement in public life. This is essential, as numerous studies have shown the correlation between participation and impact of public policies. It is only by helping governments think youth and ensuring that youth voices are heard that young men and women can be empowered to create their own future. Another untapped potential is women. Education has made tremendous improvements in MENA countries, yet female labor force participation is still very low, averaging around 22% compared to more than 50% in OECD countries. In the UAE, the youth and adult literacy rate is one of the highest in the region, and young women outnumbered men by 2.7% in 2015. While many women are obtaining advanced degrees, not all of them are entering the workforce or continuing to pursue their careers. In its 2021 vision, the UAE aspires to achieve social cohesion and happiness. As outlined in the OECD's 2015 recommendation on gender equality in public life, gender balance is an important lever to achieving both. As such, we have worked closely with the UAE Gender Balance Council to develop a good practice guide that will help advance gender balance in the public and private sector. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the role of governments in the end is about improving well-being, which should not be restricted to the national level. Where you live matters. Subnational governments, including cities and regions, represent 40% of total public expenditures in OECD countries. This makes them essential partners for central governments. Where policymakers and analysts collaborate with local people to gather well-being data, citizens have a chance to say what matters most to them. In Toronto and Santa Monica, for example, local authorities sought community groups' advice on which well-being dimensions the city should prioritize. I'm pleased that yesterday we held a global dialogue for happiness, reflecting how to put well-being at the heart of policies. If we want no people left behind, we need to ensure that no place is left behind. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, globalization and its benefits are being increasingly challenged, and populations who feel left out are turning inward. To address this, the answer must be unequivocal: rebuilding trust in institutions. Trust in domestic institutions is crucial. Trust in local institutions is crucial. And trust in international institutions is crucial too. With regards to international organizations, momentum is high to reflect on enhancing the quality of our actions to support an inclusive, multilateral, rule-based system and standards. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to the findings of this summit, which I'm sure will highlight key elements to take into consideration for the everyday work of each and every one of us. The OECD stands ready to work with all of you in pursuing your endeavours in shaping the governments of the future. Thank you.